Is it working?
Yes.
Oh, good. Something is today. It isn't me. Good morning, everybody. Or afternoon, I guess it is for most of you. Well, it is for us. I, whatever. I got up late. Sue me. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. We're going to have fun with an older design today. This, originally when I had done this pattern, I had done it for my membership group, and there was a number of different designs in it incorporating the same idea. So I decided it would be fun if we did the medium-sized project today. I really enjoy doing this one. I like how it looks. The end result is really, really pretty, and you can do some really cool things with this finish. So essentially what we're going to do is a wood grain for the background. We're going to make it look like whitewashed wood, which is, it's actually very fun and very easy. So we're going to tackle that today. There's going to be a little mixed media involved. We're going to use some decoupage techniques to do the wings. We're going to play with stencils. We're going to play with ink. And just in general, we're going to have a little bit of fun with a pretty easy project today. But before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about our giveaways for today. We actually have something quite substantial today. We have 3 brush rolls, and they're going to have a set of Dynasty Black Gold in one, Dynasty Faux Squirrel in another, and some Dynasty Micron in the third one. So we have 3 of those to give away today. Black Gold, Faux Squirrel, and Dynasty Micron. It's a nice brush roll. It's actually a folding variety. I call them a brush roll, but it's not really a roll. It's a case that you can carry your brushes in. So we have 3 of those today. And of course, we always include some Tombow goodies and some fun stuff from Renee and I as well. So that is our giveaway for today. The estimated retail value is about $75 per. Not too bad for a Saturday. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. We're going to have a little bit of fun with paint and stencils. And if you guys are ready to get started, so am I. Oh, you found it.
Yeah.
He's particularly adept at pushing buttons.
The hobby.
Usually mine. What the heck is that?
That is somebody about to get punted.
Oh. That's too weird. Good morning. This is such a fun piece to do. It's not a difficult piece. The original is hanging in the gym on the wall, and it's a little too big. So we're going to, the original was done on a 6x10 tag.
I don't have access to it here.
ISO 100.
Yep,
Get rid
I
of
got
them.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. So here we've got, this one is a 6x10 arched tombstone. So this one is going to be a little fun. Now the base coat for this, I'm going to hold this up to the camera so you can see it. Do you see all of those vertical stria in there? Yes, we're trying to, Patrick. Yeah. There's a lot of vertical stria, a lot of vertical brush marks in there. We have 1 or 2 coats of warm white, thin coats, so that we've got a lot of brush marks in it. And we apply the paint vertically so that those brush marks follow that direction. Now, I'm going to take one of my sanders and just to remove any burrs or rough spots. We want this nice and smooth. There we go. Et voila. So nice and smooth, but we've retained all of those brush marks that we see in there. Now, the stencil that I'm going to use today is this one. This is from Tim Holtz. I absolutely love this one. I just think this is such a cool stencil, this wood grain stencil. Now, if you happen to be so lucky to have a wood grain stamp, you can also use that. What did I miss? Oh, there you are. Hi, Karen. And Rose Frank. I forgot to say hello to a few people. Hi, Carol Gansey. And Jackie Petit. Hello, Denise. And Deb Daniker. And Dawn Moore. I get these on Amazon. Hi, Judy Thacker. Hello, sweetie. And Rosalind, hello. I think the video's frozen. Renee's still trying to get rid of this numpty that's on the, keeps showing up. Renee? Is it just me? Or is it frozen? Can anybody hear me at all? I'm okay now? Okay. Video is frozen from what I can see. Sound is back, but nothing on video. Okay. It's okay now? All right. It's still frozen on my end. Okay. Well, see if we can get Renee to come back down here. This is frustrating. Okay, hang on, guys. So we've got sound, but everything else is frozen. Kathy, I know how you feel. Renee is here. He's going to try and sort it out for us.
Wave your hand at me.
Nothing. Yeah, it's frozen solid. Yeah, it has been difficult. Not all the heroes working. Okay. A little black spot on top of your head. Fingers crossed that this works. Okay. I have digits. Everything's moving the way it's supposed to. Okay. I'll keep my fingers crossed that it stays that way. What was the problem?
Oh, it just...
That's what it's been doing for me on Tuesday nights. There I am. Okay. Can see all the digits? Awesome. Yay for Renee. Excellent. And everybody can hear me. Everything's working the way it should. Excellent. Thank you very much. All is good. Awesome. So, somebody had asked me earlier about this. This is what I store my Tim Holtz stencils in. Actually, I store a lot of stencils in these. This is a plastic check file. You can get these on Amazon. They really are very handy for keeping stencils in good shape. And some of the stencils in here are years old, and they've kept them in excellent condition. So if you're looking for a really simple way to store these odd-shaped stencils, this is a fantastic little tool. And I have oodles of them. I love them.
You're a brat.
Maze is being extra today. Let's call it that. So we're going to stencil this wood grain pattern onto this background. Thanks.
Good. We're all good.
And I have to shake my paint because this one's been sitting for a while. Oh, cool. Betty, that's a cool idea. So I'm using a little bit of cobblestone. You could use slate gray. The only thing I would avoid using is a black, simply because it would be very harsh and a very high contrast. So I'm going to use cobblestone. And I like to tape things down simply because I don't want anything to shift. And it's a good idea to hold this stencil because of these elongated pieces. There's bits that have a tendency to want to flop around or move. And so I tend to try to hold this stencil down as I work. So what we're going to do is fill in this wood grain. It does not have to be perfect. You'll see why shortly. So we're going to cover this whole background, this whole surface, with this wood grain. And it does not have to be perfect. Everybody always assumes that it has to be perfect. It doesn't. Not for what we're doing. We want to create sort of a whitewashed, soft, almost beachy look. And this is just an easy way to get that nice wood grain look. So I'm using a fair amount of paint for this. Here we go. As I said, it does not have to be perfect, because we're going to distress it anyway. So let's have a look. Oh, that looks good. Neatness doesn't count and perfection is to be avoided at all costs. That's my motto. So I line up as close as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then we're going to cover this surface with this wood grain pattern. I like this look. The other thing that you're going to notice is the brush marks that you put in are going to help soften this look. So having that imperfect vertical grain or brush mark pattern in the background actually makes this a little bit more effective. So it creates another layer of that texture. So look at that. So now we've got a nice little wood grain pattern happening there. And when you do the second part, we're going to move the whole stencil down so that we finish it off, so that any vertical or horizontal line that you get is going to be offset. Instant wood grain. Now, you can find this stencil on Amazon. I believe that Sandy McTeer carries it as well. I don't know if she has any in stock, but I believe she carries it as well. It is a great little stencil. There's a number of different wood grain stencils out there, and they all work really well for this. I have several different ones. I just like this one. So again, I'm not worrying about making this absolutely perfect. It really doesn't matter. Here we go. This makes for such a cool effect. And the fact that the wood grain pattern that you're putting in is imperfect just makes it that much better. So look at that. Now I'm going to catch it up on this side. I think I'm going to turn it around. Nope, I'm going to do it the other way. I was going to get smart and thought, nope. And a stamp for a wood grain works just as well. Just brayer. Use a brayer to apply your gray paint to the stamp. Or if you have a gray stamp pad, use that. As I said, I just avoid using black because black is a very harsh contrast for this. Makes it very hard to make it look subtle. Whereas by using a gray, you'll see what I mean when I do this next step. So I've got wood grain, and it's pretty busy. It is pretty busy. So here's I take my tape off. And this one goes right back into my case. I'll clean it a little later, but I put it right back in so that it's kept nice and flat. This is just the answer for this type of stencil. I have a variety of them. As I said, I think I've probably got a dozen or so of these. I really like having, again, I've got journaling stencils, lots more, something similar to the Tim Holtz. I have those in here. I have a bunch of small word stencils and small pattern stencils. These are all from Stencil Studio. I keep all my minis in one of these. And then I have a bunch of odds and sods. There's, I have some of Chris Hoy's design stencils, her little templates. I have a bunch of those. Plus I have a whole bunch of Patricia Rawlinson ones and a few of my own. And I keep all of those in these check files. And that way, A, I don't lose them, and B, they stay in good shape because they're protected. They don't get bent. So my favorite thing is those check files. They work like a hot damn. So I'm going to dry this real quick. I want to make sure that it's nice and dry. I've done beachy themed pieces using this. How do I remember which stencils you have? I don't know, to be honest. It's amazing that I have, but I always seem to know what I have. So I don't really keep an inventory because I have far too many of them. But I keep them all, so when I'm looking for things, I'll just go digging through till I find what I'm looking for. So I'm going to give this a light sanding. I just want to smooth this out. So any rough edges, bigger 12, I put my 12 by 12s in scrapbook paper bins. You know, those big square ones that snap closed. And I usually put like a piece of cardboard or something in between some of the bigger ones. And I do have some in binders, but I don't find binders, they protect the stencil, but I find them, they take up a lot of space. And space is a premium in this studio. Yeah, and inventory is never a bad idea. I have mine categorized according to brand and to type. So I have a larger card file, and I keep all of my collage stencils in one. And I have them separated according to theme. So whether they're, elegant, whether they're seasonal, whether they're geometrics, etc. That's how I have them separated. And that works for me. So we have a pretty funky wood grain, and I sanded it, so it's nice and smooth. So we're going to put a whitewash over top of this. And I love this look, and it works for a variety of colors. You can do white, do the gray, and then go over it with coral color or a like Bahama blue. It'll take on a really beachy look. But I'm going to work with a little bit of warm white and some either water or glaze. And you can't see that at all, can you? There we go. So we're going to put a wash of this thinned warm white over top of this and pulling it in the vertical, just like we did with the base color. So it gets applied in the vertical, and it's going to subdue this stencil quite a bit, which is what we want. We want to make this a bit more subtle. I love this look. I love it for beachy bits. I love it for garden things. It's just another way to create a really aged appearance. So I've got one coat of thinned warm white on the surface, and look at how much it subdues that gray, that soft gray color, that cobblestone. And I'm going to dry this. Now it gets a little bit different when it's dry. Just a little bit of warm white. The stencil is done with cobblestone. You can use a slate gray or any lighter gray. Will work just fine. If you want something with more of a yellowish tone, a little bit of light buttermilk will work. You just got you a fugly brush. Good for you. I love my fugly brush. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I need one more coat, because I want this really subtle. Still a little busy. So I'm going to put another wash of warm white over top. And I'm using the fugly brush because I want brush marks. I want that texture that it creates. I love that. The whole thing just appeals to me. I'm in a very vintagey mood lately. I love anything with a country theme or a distressed look. Anything like that really appeals to me. And then for the last couple of weeks, I've been seriously stuck creatively. So I have been trying everything under the sun to, sort of stir the juices, so to speak. And nothing seemed to be working. I just could not. I had all these ideas and nothing was working. So I spent an hour on the phone with my bestie. And then I spent an hour on the phone with my other bestie. And then, and that didn't help, which usually it does, but it didn't really. And then I complained to one of my besties about the fact that I was so stuck that I just couldn't seem to get out of this creative black hole that I'd found myself in. And we were texting back and forth, and she said, well, you need to play with something that you've done before. And so I did. I went back and I played with an idea, and nope, that wasn't doing it for me. And then I thought of something else. And then she reminded me that years ago, I had done this series of pieces, and she said they were so popular, but they're a little dated now. So I sat down the other night and just went to town, and I've got like 9 new designs sitting here. So yes, time on the phone with your besties. Fast dry glaze. Fast dry glaze, Patrick. I like that it keeps everything transparent. It allows... Yeah, Virginia, I'm with you. I have that vintage look too. Hi, Ivy. Thanks for joining us. So there it is. We've got this nice whitewashed wood grain. It's nice and subtle. Now, somebody... Oh, yes, Robin. I love the idea of a rusty mailbox. Somebody had said, well, why don't you just use a lighter color over top of the white, and wouldn't that have the same look? You would end up with just a stencil. If you did that. And I'm using glazes over top because it creates more depth. So, and that's what I wanted. I wanted this to have that depth. It shouldn't look like just a pattern stenciled on top. This softens the look. It gives it a little more depth and a little more realism. And by brushing it on vertically, it creates a pattern. So although it doesn't really show up on camera, when you look at this, you can see all of these tiny little brush marks. And this is a much more subtle look. So, and it works for so many different things. So you can use this for your garden theme pieces. You could use it for beach theme pieces. It even works well just for a pretty background, for a subtle background, for a floral, or for any holiday themed piece. It's just such a great pattern and a look for almost any subject. So if you're big into things with a vintage tone, you got to try this. It's super easy to do. You can't mess it up, quite honestly. Unless you paint right over, you cannot mess this up. So I'm going to, there's still a little wet spot here in the corner. I'm going to make sure everything's nice and dry. So we're going to age the edges of this a little bit. You knew that was coming. I'm going to be using a little bit of asphaltum. I love asphaltum. I think you know that too. Asphaltum is just like the best. I'm discovering something. My little camera up here is not working. Oh well. We're going to use a 3/4 inch angled shader and a little bit of asphaltum. I want to thin out this asphaltum. We don't want it too strong. And we're going to put a float around the outside edge. My go-to color. Yeah. I guess in one of the other groups, somebody was having a great deal of fun at my expense over the fact that I use a brown with everything. Asphaltum is my go-to color for aging things, for antiquing, for toning. It's just that color. It works really well for so many different things. So I'm going to put a nice little float around the outside edge. Comme ça. You know, I think some people really like other colors. I like asphaltum because it works. I'm a warm person. I like warm colors. And so the idea of using, like, Sandy uses Payne's Gray, and it does wonderful things for her designs. I gravitate towards warmer tones, so I lean into these asphaltums. And I've never been a big fan of burnt umber. I find it just makes things a little dirty and flattens out colors, whereas asphaltum has more of a yellow tone and it's a little bit warmer. So if you have a stamp pad handy, you can use a stamp pad to distress the edges of this, or you can use a paint method where you just roll get that chipped wood paint look around the outside edge. You can do that as well. Either one will work. I'm going to use, this is a Stays-On stamp pad. And this one, go figure, is in a dark brown. This one I really love. This one is called Timber Brown. And I think the reason I like it is it looks so much like asphaltum. Virginia, you are so right. So I'm going to just distress the edges a little bit. I like to be able to make these little, you see these little flaws along the edge? I like that. And I like that I can make them bigger. I can make them smaller. I can, age into the corners a little bit. I can use as much or as little of this as I like. And so if I want that more distressed look, I can put it in. And it's just easy to do. Just like that. So I perhaps got a little carried away with it, but that's okay. So just rub the edges. If you prefer to use a brush to do this, and there are some really fun techniques for aging this, you could float into the edges, or you could use a roll technique to do sort of a chipped paint look. Mary, it doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while I get just can't seem to get past the idea part. I get the idea and then I just can't seem to go anywhere with it. And it drives me crazy because I am very much a do it person. I usually will jump in, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But whenever I get into one of these little funks, it's just sort of, I just can't seem to get past the idea stage. So all I needed was somebody to sort of fire me up a little bit, and my besties did that for me, so all good. Those creative funks happen to the best of us at all times, at all the time, so it's nothing new in it. There we go. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So, nifty finish. Now, if you wanted to, you could, put in nice dark lines and make it look like separate boards if you wanted. Oh, you like the membership project for March? Yeah, I do too. I've got about 6 different designs coming up using, similar ideas. So, because when I get on a roll, I roll. And I rolled for about nine different designs. So yeah, I was busy. Now that I've got my mojo back, so to speak. So there we go. We've got a nifty looking. So we're ready to put our line drawing on. Now, the original piece, there's 2 projects in the original pattern. One is this one. This is the one that we're doing. This one goes on that, that 6 by whatever tag. We're going to put it on this. Now, obviously, this one is a little bit smaller, but that's okay. I'm just going to move my image a little bit. I just want to make sure that my dragonfly And at least a good portion of the flower fit on this surface. So I'm going to cut this out. This is, I know this sounds crazy, but this is how I do things. There we go. I know it ain't pretty, but there it is. Okay. So essentially, this is what I want to do. I want to arrange this so that it fits within the confines of this surface. And right about there. So I'm only going to lose about an inch off the bottom, which is fine with me. I don't mind that. If it really wouldn't fit, I'd take the line drawing over to the printer and make it a little bit smaller so that it would fit. And I'm going to tape that in place. And in the pattern, I've included the pattern for the wings. So all you have to do is cut them out. If you can, print it on a laser printer, but if you can't, well, an inkjet will do, but you're going to have to spray it with a little setting spray. I have no problem cutting out the pattern. If it's a pattern I plan on keeping or potentially doing again, I will make a photocopy of my line drawings. I'd rather work with a photocopy than work with my original. I always keep the original with my line drawing. So I've also got the page out of a dictionary. You can use that. You could use a page out of a favorite novel. I saw one of the ladies here used one from Outlander. You can use whatever you like. If it means something to you, then use it. If you don't want to use the paper technique, by all means, go ahead and paint the wings. I'm going to show you how to do both anyway. So you can stencil the wings. You can do whatever you want with them. If you want to put curlicues in there, go right ahead. Polka dots, knock yourself out. I'm a firm believer in if you've got a design, you like the design and you want to make it your own, then make it your own. Create whatever you want in there. Run with whatever your creativity tells you. So I'm going to grab a piece of graphite paper. I can find one that isn't as old as Methuselah's goat. There we go. Alrighty. Now I always like to tape my line drawing down because I hate it when things shift. And we're going to use, what would I use as a setting spray? I usually use just Decorative matte spray. Just spray, a couple of, one or two light coats on each side of the paper is usually sufficient. Just, it's enough to keep the ink where it needs to be. So we're going to trace and transfer. I'm a huge fan of my red gel pen, especially on things that have lots of segments so that I can see where I've been. This is not a difficult piece to paint, but there's lots of little elements in it that are really fun. We have lettering, we have daisies. The big one has a sunflower, which is fun. Easy peasy. Hi, Janet. How are you, sweetie? Hi, Monty. You forgot to check in? Well, you're here. Here we go. Whew. I'm having one of those moments. Good Lord. Now, this is not a complex design by any stretch of the imagination, and it is just a daisy. I love daisies. I love painting daisies. I like seeing, there's something happy about daisies. So, it's funny that I get rid of the the black hole that was my creativity for a few days. That got rid of that, and then my brain just took off. So now I'm sitting here and I keep thinking, ooh, this would be fun to do. I could put daisies in almost anything. So it's probably a good thing that I'm doing this with you guys today. Otherwise, I would have 15 different designs on the go at one time and be crying that I don't have time to paint them all. So it's probably a good thing that I just get to sit and play and paint today. My eternal summer is showing, yes. Did you see the red in my hands? Yeah. I have one of those moments and my hands and face turn red. My chest turns red. I turn red. It's ridiculous. It's redonkulous. There we go. I'm a big fan of just simple compositions. I don't think that we need to have really complex compositions all the time. And most of the pieces that I design are designed with teaching in mind. They should have one or two very specific techniques involved. They should have something of interest. I try to put things in that no one's done before. I just try to keep things as interesting as possible. Mainly because I have the attention span of a gnat, so I have to find things to keep me busy and keep me interested and keep me entertained, because if I'm not entertained, I get into trouble. I enjoy painting, and this keeps my mind busy all the time. And I have a sleepless night, and it's usually because my brain is going at 1,000,000 miles an hour and plotting and planning and designing in my head, and that's nuts. Well, I hope you're recovering there, Donna. It's been a very bad flu year. Very, very bad. I know we have a lot of it in our area too. I have gotten every shot known to God and man at this point. I'm determined not to fall prey to anything this year. I've had enough. Thank you very much. The flu season has played hell on a lot of places these days, so I am trying to avoid it. Hi, Elka. Cold Canadian Air just moved in. Yep, you're welcome. Linnell, I can totally relate to that. I had that stupid lung infection. And it took from March of last year until September. Oh my goodness, hon. I'm so sorry, Donna. I count my fingers. I have not had any long COVID symptoms, thank heavens. But some people have really struggled with it. Okay, I think. Hallelujah, look at that. Got it right first time. That's a miracle these days. I don't blame you, Janet. I'm hibernating. I hibernate in the wintertime. I love winter, but I dislike being ill. Intensely dislike being ill. Oh my God, she fell again? Miss Lucy. We're going to have to wrap her in bubble wrap. Miss Lucy. So we're going to take a little bit of that asphaltum and we're going to float around our dragonfly. I really like to see this dragonfly hover, so I like getting that shadow underneath the wings. There we go. Oops-a-daisy, I put that in the wrong spot. There we are. So it's a pretty simple shadow. We're just going to put it towards the bottom left of each wing. And we're going to tuck a few little shadows in and around our daisy here. And again, we're not really, you'll notice that I'm not really worrying about accuracy because we haven't painted the daisies yet. But I wanted to tuck a few little shadows in a few places. And then we're going to put shadow behind our stem, replicating the shadow behind our dragonfly. And it is a loose shadow. We're not looking for perfection. There we go. Look at that. So we've got our shadow in. And we're going to do the same thing to the lettering, but we're going to switch to a smaller brush for this. Now, the lettering on our daisy has to follow the shadowing that we put on everything else. So instead, normally I put it on the inside. This time around, we're going to put it on the outside. So that shadow is going to go in here on this side. So it's a little bit different this time around. And that one is a little strong, so I'm going to blend that out. There we go. So it's a little bit strong. And again, I'm not too concerned with the getting that shadow up over top of the lettering. It doesn't matter at this point. But I did want to get those shadows in place, like so. So it looks very sloppy at this point, and it's okay. We have them in. We just have to update the website, Terry. Those little sanding pads, we have lots of them in stock. We just have to update the website. So we're going to start with our dragonfly up here. We're going to use a little bit of lamp black. I don't often use just lamp black for things, but in this case, we're going to do the body of our dragonfly. Just like that. Eyeballs. It does look kind of ghostly with this on here, but it'll all work out. Hi, Vicky. Oh, I'm so glad you liked the March project. My membership group, the first of the month is the day that they get their project for the month. And I'm just putting the final touches on the line drawings and whatnot, and their new pattern will be up. And I love this piece. I love the colors in it. I love the vintagey look of it. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. And that also means that the project that they did for February, that pattern will be available on the website this week. So I'm very excited about this month's project. It's very girly, very pretty, very vintage, lots of fun techniques in it. And the funny part is that the photographs just don't do it justice. I think it's far prettier than the photos show. So there it is. I'm going to let that bug dry. So this is the project that my membership group is doing for the month of March, called Parfumerie. It would be so pretty on a vanity. We do a different project every month. This is the newest one. This one is for the month of March. Lots of antiquing, lots of fun techniques involved in this one. I really like this. No, the photos don't do this one justice. It's so much prettier in person. The project that we did for February was this one. So we do something different every single month, and sometimes we do color pencil, sometimes we do watercolor. But my membership group is an awesome group of painters, and they're inspiring. So they keep me on my toes, and I love it. I love it. Patrick, there's something about old French perfume labels that I find just exquisite. And so this one was inspired by that. You're not suggesting we're old ladies. Be very careful with that comment, Patrick. I have been playing with, this is what's interesting about this piece, is that it's actually a fabric finish. So it does actually look like old worn linen. So it's cute. Would I consider a watercolor or colored pencil class for a Saturday? I might. I might. Colored pencils are just, I'm not all that confident when it comes to colored pencil, to be honest. Oh, you know what? I popped this members piece into a frame, and it just looks so pretty. So yeah, it's a fun. If the shoe. So here's what we're going to do for the wings. Now you have a couple of different choices for this. You can cut the paper, or you can paint the wings. It's up to you. Okay. So I'm going to cut out these wings. Cha-cha-cha-cha. And this one is for the left side. I'm a huge fan. I just love this look using paper. You can also, as I said, paint these. This is the fun part of this. This is a little bit bigger, and it's intentionally bigger so that we can take it off of the page a little bit. You can also use the line drawing if you want them to be absolutely a perfect fit. You can use the line drawing to trace out your wings and then decoupage them on. So I've got the wings. I like them a little oversized personally, for a couple of reasons. I just love how it looks. It's so pretty. So I'm going to cut these out. Now, this one is not going to fit this perfectly because we're going to cut away some of it. And the other thing you can do is decoupage this on and then just paint over it when you put the come on, English is the second language today. When you paint your daisies, you can paint right over top of the paper. It doesn't hurt at all. But I really love this look. I like this pattern for a couple of reasons. There's a number of pieces that all carry the same theme in it. I love the little tags for ornaments. I just think they're very pretty and would look great, you know, in a sunroom, what have you. You could hang them in windows. I just think they're fun. So, nice big wings. Look at that. So, if you're using the cutout paper, you're going to decoupage these in place. The other option is to paint them. Now, I'm going to decoupage these onto a different surface just to show you how to do it. So flip this over. So I've got a little bit of matte spray. This one was printed on an inkjet. This one uses a vegetable dye, so it actually isn't too bad. But this is the method for decoupaging on this type of paper. I have a little spray bomb that I keep handy that's full of water. And I just mist the paper so that it's damp. And then we're going to use a light coat of matte medium on our surface. Doesn't have to be a ton, but you do need a little bit of matte medium on your surface. So paint the area that you're going to apply the paper with a little bit of that matte medium. And then you're going to take your damp paper and you're going to lay it into the medium like so and press it in place with your fingertips so that it's in there nice and tight. Smooth it out, and then you're going to let it dry. So, and the nice part is you can force it like so. There we go. And then you're going to take a little bit of matte medium and you're going to seal the whole surface with one thin coat. Not a ton, don't need a ton, just one thin coat on the surface. And you're going to let that dry very well. Okay. So once it's completely dry, and this may take a little bit, There we go. So you end up with a nice tight finish to the surface. You don't have this bumpy or ripply looking thing, paper. So all you need to do is just let this dry really, really well, and then you will follow the same instructions as we're going to do for the painted wings. So we're going to base coat these wings with warm white. And in this particular case, we want them fairly opaque. So we're going to put a nice coat of warm white down. Ideally, you will hide all of that graphite line, but if you don't worry about it, because we're going to do something to this at the end that will take care of that. So I like the warm white on these wings. 1 or 2 coats is really all you need. It'll just be enough to bury the remainder of the wood grain. But if you see a little of that wood grain through it, it's okay. It just becomes part of the wing. Like so. This is one of my favorite things. I have an absolute obsession with dragonflies. I know Philomena shares my obsession with dragonflies, but they're very personal for me. So there we go. We get a white wing. Need a little more paint. Good afternoon, Lillian. How are you? Hope you're well. There's our girl Lucy. We're going to have to put her in bubble wrap. My girl Lucy has got a terrible tendency to hurt herself these days. And she's making us all worry. She doesn't bounce like she used to. None of us do. Okay, so I think I'm happy with my dragonfly wings. Super simple. So I'm going to dry that. And then we're going to stencil these wings. Now, the fun part is that you could stencil them with almost anything. The only thing you have to remember is to keep whatever you're going to use, make sure that it's fairly small. That doesn't mean teeny tiny. We don't want this to be too busy, but fairly small works. I've used checkerboard on wings. I've used polka dots on wings. I love polka dots on wings. I think you guys know that. You've probably seen me polka dot enough wings. I'm going to grab my bin of stencils here. And I think the size I want is about 1/4 inch. I don't really want to do anything bigger than that. Oh. If I can get it open. There we go. Good Lord. Polka dots. Look at that. I found just the size. Perfect. Now, if you prefer to use something smaller, by all means, you can use smaller polka dots. I just happen to be a fan of using this size. I like this for this size. Now, the original piece, the large one, is this one. Has that great wood grain in the background. And this is the paper on the wings. And I used a little bit of iridescent color on the dragonfly and the paper on the wings. And I love this look. It's just so fun. Swirls would look great. Yes, swirls would look awesome. But I'm a fan. I do actually have a pretty swirl stencil. Might be a little too big for those spaces. But I think it'd be pretty. But I'm going to use my polka dots. Oh my stars. So here's the polka dot. I love this. I just think it's so pretty to do polka dots. Like, how easy is that? Now, one of the things that I've heard people complain about is that getting it on the background. Well, here's my solution. If I have to avoid a particular polka dot, and not only that, but it holds the stencil in place. So I'm going to use a little bit of Bahama Blue, because I think these wings need to be light. So I'm going to use a little bit of Bahama Blue. And I'm using a small stencil brush. And voila. So, polka dots. Look at that. I just think this is a fun way to do it. And then I'm going to, good gravy, Marie. I'm trying to locate this so that we get more polka dots. There we go. The idea to get as many polka dots on our surface as we can. So I'm going to block a polka dot and block a polka dot. And like I said, if you want to use smaller ones, by all means. If you want to use checks, go ahead. There is absolutely nothing to stop you. There we are. How fun. So we have polka dots. To me, this is just a fun way to do it. I just think polka dots are awesome. Look at you. Okay. Fine. We'll do it this way. There's the polka dot. And we've got one down here that I need to block right here. There's nothing wrong with making it work. Oh, I just put my finger in black paint. And with my luck, I'll have it everywhere if I don't clean this up. Look at this. I just plop. Oh, so much for my manicure. There we go. Oh, good God. Could I make more mess if I tried? Maybe. Perhaps. If I made a real effort. Okay. There we go. Oh, I did get black paint on it. See what I mean? I'm hopeless. So I'm going to try to get this black paint off. There. I can guarantee you that if this is the only thing that I mess up today, it will be a miracle. There. Honestly, some days, you know. So I'm going to take all the tape off of this stencil. And I'm going to there we go. Just making sure I didn't actually put the stencil in the black paint, because that would be my speed as well. There we go. So I needed a polka dot on that, just in a couple of places on that wing. And that should do it. Polka dots. I love polka dots. I honestly, I can get my hands into paint. Look at this. And then without even realizing, I get paint everywhere. So it's not unusual. Oh, yeah, I've done that, Robin, more than once. Okay, so we've got polka dots on our wings, because this part is fun. We're going to use a 3/8 angle, and we're going to use a little bit of Bahama blue. We're going to shade the wings close to the body, right here. And we're going to walk it like a quarter of the way up the wing. And then I'm going to do the same thing out at the tip, like so. So we're going to have a nice little shadow out at the tip, and again at the towards the body, and then a nice open area in the center of the wing. So again, a float of Bahama blue, just like so. And it's on all 4 wings. And this is going to give the wings a little weight, a little bit of visual weight, and it needs it. Otherwise, they just look flat. So, and we don't want that. So there we go. So it just gives the wings a little more oomph, a little shape, and a little balance. And it doesn't negate those polka dots by any means. But we do have to shade under that daisy with a little of that Bahama blue as well. So that's just going to give our wing a little more visual weight and a little more depth. So there's all of our shading. And let's dry this. Everything I own has got paint on it. Beauty. So I'm going to take a little bit of either warm white or titanium white, either one, it doesn't matter. If you've got titanium white, great. But if not, that's okay too. And you're just going to put a float of it at the top edge of the wing in that space between the 2 shadings. And it just whitens and lifts the wings up. So we're going to deepen all of that shading with a little bit of asphaltum. And it's heavily thinned. It's going to be very transparent. And I put that little float right over the shaded areas on the wings. Super thin. And the same with out at the very tip of the wing. I love this little shading. It just does marvelous things. It kind of gives the wings a slightly greenish cast as opposed to blue. And it deepens that shadow that we went to so much trouble to put in. So we're going to dry this. And then we're going to tackle the body of our dragonfly. Now there's a couple of ways you can do that. Hi, Sandy. Good to have you with us. And Roxy, I love Bahama Blue. Hi, Sheila. So we're going to tackle the body of our dragonfly, and I chose two colors. This is an interference color or an iridescent color. This one is violet and this one is blue. I'm really thinking I'm leaning towards the violet. So I'm going to put a little of this on my palette. If I can get it out of the bottom. Okay. Now the thing about an iridescent is that it comes out of the bottle white. So if you're going to be working with multiple iridescents, pour them out and label each one. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see what it is. What's for dinner tonight? I made chicken salad the other night, and it's always better the day after. I got 3 nice big chickens this week, roasted all 3 of them, and then I split the bone, took it all off the bone. I put some in the fridge for hot chicken sandwiches, which we had the other night for dinner. Some went into the freezer for soups and whatnot. And then I made a chicken salad, and it's an easy one, and it's very tasty. And it has red onion, cucumber, diced tomato, and diced celery, and chopped dried cranberries, and a little bit of mayonnaise, salt, pepper, garlic, and red onion. And then it's the dressing is made with half mayonnaise and half Miracle Whip. So I'm using a little bit of this iridescent violet. Now, I'm not sure that this is going to show up on camera. No, I haven't posted the chicken cacciatore yet, but I will. I absolutely love iridescence, especially on things like insects. So I'm just putting a little float of iridescent on each one of the segments. And I know you can't see it on camera, but I'm also going to put a little bit on the eyeball. And I'm going to see if you can see it now. There you can see it, just the shimmer of that purple shimmer. I like the purple iridescent for dragonflies, but there's also an iridescent green that is absolutely beautiful. You can skip the onions. If you're not fun, use a little bit of onion powder instead. It's a simple one, but it's just delicious, and it's so good if you put it on homemade bread or even just on a bed of lettuce. It's fabulous. I like putting it on a bed of fresh spinach and romaine lettuce. So we're having that this evening. Of course, yesterday was Friday, so we had pizza. So there's that little shimmer. And I just think it's so pretty. It's just a nice little addition. It just, other than just a white float, I just love that little flash of iridescence. Now, to really make it stand out, or to make the dragonfly stand out, I like to take my extra long detail liner and a little bit of thinned warm white. And I'm going to, oh goodness, that brush is a mess. There, I get one that hasn't died 1,000 deaths here. I like to put a highlight on each one. Now our shadow is dropping this way, so the highlight is going to be on this side. So it's just a little stroke of white on each segment, like so. It just makes this portion stand out a little. And it's always a nice surprise when you turn it in the light and all of a sudden you see that flash of purple. I love that. And the same with the eyes. We're going to put a little highlight. Don't forget, those eyes need a dot. Just like that. Super simple. This does not have to be complex. Now, the fun part. Iridescents only show their true color on when there's a color behind it, meaning a black or a dark blue. It has to be a dark color. Otherwise, you don't see it as much. That doesn't mean you don't see it at all. It just means you don't see it as much. So I have a little bit of blue interference. And I'm going to put a little puddle of this on my palette. Oop. And I'll tell you, side by side on the palette, it's very hard to tell them apart. So I've got a little bit of blue iridescent. And I'm going to put a float of it out at the tips of the wings. Just like that. So I've got a float of that iridescent blue over top of all of that Bahama blue. Just like so. Now, it doesn't have a dramatic look right off the bat, but I will show you in just a second what a difference this makes. It's subtle, but it's a nice surprise. So we've got a little bit of that iridescent blue. And you can do as much of this as you want or as little. It's entirely up to you. I just think the wings of a dragonfly should have that shimmer. And so even when it's dry, you get a little of that little shimmer of color. Do you see it? So we've got that nice little shimmer of color. And it's so pretty on a dragonfly. So to finish out the dragonfly, this is one of my favorite things. I love doing this. I'm going to use my 0.38 gel pen. And I like a squiggly outline. Remember I said I don't worry too much about that graphite line showing? This is why. Because I'm going to put a nice little squiggly line around the wing with my gel pen. Now, I use my gel pen an awful lot. And I use it for so many different things. And I use it on flowers. I use it on leaves. I use it on everything. And dragonflies and butterflies, bumblebees, etc. They all get the same treatment. I really love this squiggly outline. It just helps make the wings stand out a little bit. But it also kind of mimics a little bit of movement. Hi, Eileen. Nice to have you with us. So you can do as much or as little of this as you like. This is a me thing. I just happen to love this squiggly outline. It just works for me. So we have a fun little dragonfly. So our next step is to paint out this daisy, and this one is super simple. If you do the sunflower, the instructions for the sunflower are in there. So if you want to do the daisy in the yellow, does the gel pen smear? It does if it's still wet when you rub it, but when it's completely dry, no. And you can dry it, force dry it. And I use my gel pens all the time. This is just a fun piece. So, for our daisy, I'm going to grab a round brush. I've got a nice round brush, and we're going to use warm white. And I'm going to use a little bit of my Jo Sonja, thin that out a little bit so it's nice and smooth and creamy. And we're going to base coat these petals. They're daisies. Keep it simple. It does not have to be perfect. And I say that because I'm going to use the same technique that I used on the dragonfly on the daisy. So if you don't get rid of all of those graphite lines, it's fine. Don't panic. And 1 coat of warm white will be sufficient. You'll see why. The nice part is that I can still see all my line work right through this warm white, which is very helpful. Because it means I don't have to trace this again. I rarely do more than 1 coat when it comes to base coating. From time to time I will. It depends on what kind of an effect I want. But most of the time, I am a 1 coat girl. Because I use so many layers of color over top, I just don't worry about whether or not I have that perfectly opaque base coat. Because by the time I'm finished, it didn't matter anyway. So looky there. So we've got 1 coat of warm white on all our daisies, all our petals. Super easy. I'm going to use, for our center, I'm going to use Sunny Day. If I can find it. That's banana cream. Sunny Day. What color graphite did I use? I use gray. I have an old piece of gray graphite. So I'm using a little bit of Sunny Day for the center of my daisy. Como ça? Easy peasy. And again, 1 coat is sufficient. And I kind of dab it in because I like a little texture. Doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to use antique green for the stem and for the leaf. And again, I am not worrying about getting it absolutely perfect. Now I'm going to use that round brush to base coat my leaf with a little bit of antique green. You can use lush green. You can use, if you have lush green, use that. If you've got antique green, use that. So I'm using, I grabbed lush green, that'll work. So this is how I base coat these leaves. It's just a little bit of color on the tip of the brush, and it's literally little dabs of green. Because we've got a fairly textured leaf for daisies, for this daisy anyway. Kind of got a ruffled edge, and that little dabbing of paint does the trick very nicely. And we're just filling that space up. Again, I am not worrying about whether or not it's fully opaque. It doesn't matter. Da-da-da. I like the texture of these leaves. Asteracea is the name of the plant. In fact, sunflowers belong to the same family, Asteracea. So do asters. hence the name. The common daisy, the brown-eyed Susan, the ox-eye daisy, they all fall under that same category. So there we go. Leaf. I love daisies. Love daisies. It's I think my favorite flower. So I'm going to grab a rigger and we're going to base the stem with the rigger. I'm going to dry that because I'll put my hand in the wet paint. Did our chat window freeze up? I haven't seen any of the chat change in a while. Oh my gosh. I'm telling you. I'm going to have to fix that. It's this thing about me, and I promptly put my paint-laden finger into white paint. So smart. So paint that stem with that same green. Oh my goodness. Too much water in my brush now. We have a visitor. Mr. Giz came down. There we are. Okay. So we have a stem. Hi, Judy. Oh, good. You learned your fact for today. I have a terrible I don't know if it's a terrible tendency or what, but I have a tendency to, when I'm looking for inspiration or if I'm looking for images to work from, reference photos and things like that, I don't know why, but I have to find out something about what I'm painting. And one of the things that I found out about daisies is that they all belong to the same family. And there's so many different varieties of it. Even Donna Baker says hi, yes. Even the chamomile plant belongs to the Astraceae family. They all fall into that same category. So I like finding out those little tidbits about things. Same with my little mini history lessons, art history lessons on Facebook. Some people find them boring. Some people find them interesting. I'm a firm believer that if you ever stop learning, then life just isn't any fun anymore. And I love those little tidbits. A lot of it, stuff that I learned at school, in art school. So I just like to share it. So some people find it interesting, others not so much, but that's okay. A hummingbird. I actually have a design for a hummingbird. I just haven't done anything with it. Here we go. So, when it comes to painting these daisies, I believe in a simple approach. And this is also where I carry color from other portions of the piece. I'm a firm believer in that. So we're going to pull a little bit of Bahama blue. I love Bahama blue. And we're going to shade all of our petals with it. A little too much water in my brush here. There we go. So I'm going to float right here, close to the center and on those petals in the background. Just like that. Get it right up against the center of that flower. And then you're going to start separating all of those petals with that same color. Just like that. I love that this color is cool. That even when you're working on a daisy and you want to keep the colors warm, having that little bit of blue helps keep the color white. They don't look blue, but they maintain that look of being white. And you need to have that little bit of other color in there. Flat white is flat white. You have that little bit of blue in it. Keeps the white nice and cool. And so it maintains that white look. Here we go. So we've got that little bit of blue close to the center and separate all of those petals. There we go. So look at that. Got a nice little bit of blue in there. Keeps the petals looking like petals. I like it. So I'm going to take a little bit of asphaltum now. Just a little. And again, I'm going to thin it out quite a bit. I don't want this to look like brown. I want it to be, just tone this a little bit. And so it deepens that color, much like we did on the dragonfly. It helps lift some of the forward petals forward. And it helps separate these quite nicely. I love that asphaltum tones this blue, but it still looks blue. Here we go. There we are. So now we've got separate petals. Oops, I missed one. I missed one right there. Yep, that works. And now we need some orange. I like nice bright orange. I'm thinking a little bit of orange flame will do the trick nicely. Where'd my brush go? There it is. And we're going to use orange to shade the center here. So nice little touch orange, nice and deep, right along the base. Like so. And then a little bit inside that little divot. Just like that. Hello.
No new inappropriate comments?
No. Well, whoever that guy was, he liked looking at my chest. Whatever. Strange. Somebody needs a hobby. Every day is an adventure. I totally agree. So once we've got that orange on there, we're going to come back in with the asphaltum. Nice and thinned out. And we're going to deepen that shadow right at the base with a little float of asphaltum. And again, inside that dimple. Gives us a nice little well Like magic. Linnell says hi.
Hello.
So I've got a little bit of black green. We're going to shade our leaves now before we do any of this finishing work. So I'm using a little bit of black green. I like this color. And it's a loose little show. I wouldn't even call it a float. It's more like a line down the left side of the stem. Just like that. We're going to put a highlight on the other side. And we're going to put a float of this up the center of that leaf. It's heavily thinned black green. Just want a little float like so. There we go. So I've got a nice little shadow up the center. I don't really want it to be too dark, but I do want it. Yeah, that works. And then I'm going to use a little bit of margarita to add some zing, because I like margarita. And this is the fun part with the highlighting on this. You remember the way we put all that color in? We don't need to worry about whether or not highlights are perfect because we're using very thinned color, like so, just to get a little highlight in. It's just enough to accentuate things a little. That's all we're really looking for. And then I'm going to show you something fun. We're going to take that round brush, and on the highlight side, which is that far right, we're going to take a little bit of that margarita, and we're just going to tap a little bit of that color in along this edge, just like so. Just like we did the base coat. We're just pulling a little of that color in. And it follows that same texture, so it's not perfect by any stretch. And you can put a little bit wherever you want. And then while you have the round brush out, you can put a little stroke of that margarita on the highlight side of the stem. Just like so. And it's just a little stroke. Et voila. So I'm going to dry that. Have a great weekend, Sheila. Love you too, sweetie. And I do like my zing. Yes, I like my zing. So we're going to make sure that's good and dry. And then we're going to come back up to the center of our daisy with a rigger. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. I'm a fan of, I like dip dots. Dip dots are fun. Dip dots are pretty. So I just loaded a rigger with some white, a little bit of warm white. And I'm just going to put some dip dots on the edge, just off the edge, out onto the petals. Keep it simple. Doesn't have to be elaborate. See how light that is? They're well spaced. Just keep it simple. So that's all on the highlight side. Just like that. So all that highlight area, look at that. Easy peasy. And then we're going to do the same thing with a little bit of asphaltum. That dark brown. We're going to use a little bit of that. And again, we're going to be sparing. I don't want a ton of this. It just, if it's too much, then it takes away everything from the center. And we want a nice light, pretty center. But it is imperative that we bring some of that out onto the petals. Little bit, just a little. And don't forget we need a couple in here too. There. So we have a nice little center. Your husband's middle name is René, and your daughter and granddaughter's middle name is René. Well, René, our René, is Joseph René Charles Émile Moreau. That is his full name, in case you ever wanted to know. It's a mouthful. So we have a rigger, and I'm going to give us a clean palette because we're going to do some lettering. I like this particular font. It's very simple, but it's got a nice, flair to it. I have trouble with less is more. Yeah, so do I. Yeah, René has quite the handle. Joseph is his baptismal name. René is his first name. Charles is his second name for his father, and Émile for his grandfather and great-grandfather. So yeah, it's a mouthful, but purpose behind his name. Very traditional, French, Canadian, Roman Catholic. So I've got a little bit of lamp black. I'm working with a 0 rigger for this. And I chose lamp black because it matches the body of the dragonfly. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember the name of this font, but it is a stock font that you find in most computers. Like Blackadder or something like that. So we're going to paint this lettering with lamp black. And I want nice crisp edges, so I'm taking my time with those edges. There we go. And the highlighting on this lettering is very simple. It's just a stroke of white. And simple lamp black lettering. I'm trying to remember the name of this font, and of course, because I'm trying to remember it, it escapes me. But it seems to me that it's something like Blackadder. Oh, the daisy isn't finished yet. I want to get this lettering done, and then we'll finish the daisy. Because we'll be doing a bunch of finishing, so. Just some last minute stuff to finish this up. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Honestly, have you ever had a day where the brush does not want to do what you want it to do? I'm having one of those today. There we go. And of course, I put my finger right in the black paint. Again. Honestly. Oh, my stars. There we go. Of course, it's the last letter, and I'm finally getting the brush to behave. Good heavens. The brush doesn't want to behave today. It wants to do what it wants to do. There we go. I think sometimes that's part and parcel of the, having like a creative black hole, I call it, which just nothing seems to come of whatever you're doing, or nothing seems to become cohesive, I think is the word I'm looking for. Lots of ideas, but nothing comes to fruition. And I think sometimes, the brush is not working as part of that. It's just your body telling you to put the brushes down. Take a break. That's when you pick up a pencil and do something else. I'm sticking with that one. That one works for me. But I think we've all been through that, where we just draw a creative blank. And it's always such a relief when it goes away. For me, I find it extremely frustrating. Because normally, for me, I can have 30 ideas in one go. And for me not to find anything, I find it very frustrating. So, almost done with this lettering. And I'm going to say thank goodness, because this is just awful today. Good heavens. The brush has a mind of its own. Okay. Stay clear. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just have to put the brush down and say, okay, that's enough of that foolishness. So I'm going to put a nice little highlight on my lettering. And again, it's going to go on the right-hand side. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. And it's a simple stroke. Just a simple stroke. It doesn't have to be, a big, elaborate ta-da. So I'm using my extra long detail liner. And I'm just going to put a nice line of white, or a little curlicue, a little stroke, just inside the edge of each letter. And oh goodness, doesn't want to work today. I didn't thin the paint enough. There we go. Just inside the edge of each letter. So you get this nice little highlight on the right hand side. Don't forget to do the little dot over the eye. Oops. Too much liquid. There we go. There we are. So we've got a nice little highlight on our lettering. Just makes it stand out a little bit. Surprisingly, Virginia, I have always worked better under a deadline. So for me, I find it frustrating because I prefer to have things done ahead of time. And so for me to literally draw a blank is just awful. So to finish this off, this is super simple. I like my sketchy lines, and it's a fun way to detail those petals. You can add those little lines at the base of the petal with the gel pen. You can add the sketchy line to the outside edge of your center. I love this. I just like the texture it creates. And it eliminates the need to be trying to scrub off all of those graphite lines that may or may not still be showing. So super simple. It makes this daisy pop. And it does not have to be perfect. If it goes off the petal, it's okay. If it stays on the petal, that's okay. It just becomes part of the overall texture of the flower. So if you don't have a steady hand, this is the perfect way to do it. What type of gel pen do I use? My favorites, and the reason they're my favorites is for this. First of all, the ink. It's a Sakura ink. It's a Japanese-made pen. It's a Uniball Signo DX 0.38. It's a very fine gel pen, and it has a stainless steel ball. So it is nice because it's rare that it gets gummed up by paint or what have you. I have used these for years without fail. And I just love them. And then the fact that they are so fine makes them ideal for this type of work. Super fine, nice fine lines. It's not a heavy outline. Super easy. A few little details. Add your scribblies, add your fun little bits and bobs. And you can sign your work with them. Now, to finish this, a light spatter with a little bit of asphaltum is never a bad thing. I'm a fan. I like my asphaltum. You could use a little bit of lamp black if you like. If you like it darker, by all means. I prefer a lighter. It still looks aged and antiqued, but it doesn't look heavy. And so a light spatter with a little bit of asphaltum. And there you go. You have friends in your garden. It's a super simple piece. Terry, gel won't... I've never had a problem with it bleeding. Make sure it dries completely before you spray it, but absolutely. And there we go. Friends in our garden. Love this piece. Now Renee is getting us sorted out for the wheel. And then I think that camera's frozen. I can tell because it left me with like 3 chins.
Let's get that sorted out. Activate.
There we go. It's working. Yay! So next Saturday, we're going to be doing mixed media poppies. And it's got lots of fun stenciling techniques, stamping techniques. And we're going to be playing with a little bit of fluid acrylic. We're going to have so much fun. It's one of my favorite pieces. It's an older design as well. It's a blast to paint. So join me if you can. Renee is pulling the wheel together. Holy hockey pucks, Batman.
It's not letting me resize. There.
There it is. Okay.
Jeez. That was an ordeal.
Quite a few names on there today.
I think we're still just in the 200 mark.
Nice.
177.
Nice. So, today's giveaways are really nice. We have a nice set of brushes and a brush carrier, brush roll, brush binder, whatever you want to call it. Really nice one. So we have 3 of those to give away. One is going to have some Dynasty Black Gold brushes, plus some Tombow goodies and some other fun stuff from Renee and I. And one will have Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, and the other will have Dynasty Micron. So we have 3 of those to give away today. So if Renee is ready to go, it's going to spin the wheel.
Spin, spin. First name.
Linda Giesbrecht.
Winnipeg.
Yes, ma'am. And if your name is called, don't forget to head over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information. Linda doesn't have to do that because I know where she lives. That could be taken as a threat, I suppose.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with
A
that.
little bit, a little creepy.
Just trying to get through the whole.
Yeah. And our next one is Jan Smith. I don't think I've seen that name as our winner before.
You do get a lot of people from Facebook that don't chat too much or leave a comment, but they do like the video.
Yep. It's all good.
It's all good. Jan Smith. Hopefully they're still watching.
Hopefully. And the last one goes to Linnell Washhorn. Linnell has been sick for weeks. I think this will put a little ray of sunshine.
No caustic watchhorn.
Watchhorn. All right, guys, that's it for us this week. Thank you so much for joining us as you do every week. If you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, please do so. Hit the big red subscribe button on my YouTube channel and you'll be notified whenever we go live. And if you are new to Tracy Morrow Live, join us every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We go live with a new project. And we try to keep it light, try to keep it interesting, and above all, it has to be fun to paint. So join us here every Saturday. Hit the follow button on the Tracy Morrow Live page, and you'll get notified when we go live. Just watch my Tracy Morrow Live page for updates about what classes we're offering and what giveaways we've got. So to everybody, thank you so much. We love having you here every Saturday to paint with, and have a great weekend. Mwah. We love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
You're getting it before I even get to say it.
That's the whole idea, isn't it?
Pet your cat.
Pet your cat. And pet your husband if you want to. What?
Don't sweat the petty things. Don't pet the sweaty
Sweaty
things.
thing.